we do these initiatives, a lot of times we get mixed feedback from different groups of people. We have some people that's really supportive, and they're really thankful that we go out. I'm talking about the viewers, not the people in the community. They're always very grateful.
Oh yes, very much.
Yeah, but some people look and they say, "Why are you guys doing this? Like, I don't understand why you guys are even doing this to begin with. Why don't they just go get a job?" And we want to break that down today. Why in the situation. We're going to kind of go over some of those details. In the meantime, we'll be doing these streams every single week at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. So we encourage you guys in the comment section below. In that comment section below, go ahead and make sure that you guys drop in there some topic ideas for us to be able to cover. And each week we'll make sure we pull some of these and we'll go over some topics to discuss with you guys about questions you guys have about the homeless community, or suggestions, or just anything that has to do with the initiative. We love to hear from you, and we love to hear those topics, and we'll make sure that we cover those topics in the weeks to come. So while we're waiting, you guys can drop that in the comment section, and then me and Maine will pull them. But we just thank you guys for dropping in.
So, yeah, thank you.
So again, if you're just joining us, I see you guys trickling in one at a time. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the viewership. I am Isaiah. This is Maine, and we're the Homeless Heroes.
Yes.
So thanks again, guys. You guys helped us get up those 1,000 subscribers. We couldn't have did it without you guys. I think that was awesome. When we first started this, we didn't have any intention on any of this. We didn't plan on trying to get no 1,000 subscribers or nothing. We didn't start it for that reason. We started it just because it was the right thing to do. Started about 2 years ago. I was right after Thanksgiving. We hosted Thanksgiving at our house. And yeah, it was good. Everybody cooked. It was potluck. We brought everything over. People brought food. And after, you know how it goes, you eat. And then after you eat, the next day you eat again. And then the next day after that, you're kind of tired of the leftovers. And then what happens with them? Oftentimes you take it and you just throw them away. You throw them in the garbage. You toss them in the trash. And everybody was gone. She's upstairs, still rubbing her stomach, from all the good eating. And I said, you know what? We're not going to toss the stuff in the garbage. We literally live in a community where there are so many homeless people. When I say that you can trip over them, I don't mean that in an exaggerated fashion. I mean that honestly, you really can.
Right.
And we said, all I'm going to do is throw this in the garbage. You're going to dig it out the garbage. You know what I mean? So why not go out and why not give and contribute to the community? And we just started cutting up the meats and all of the food, and you'll be surprised at how many of those containers that you have.
Oh my gosh.
Those like black containers that you get, you don't know where you got them from. You don't know how you got them, where you came about. But we started getting those containers and we just started filling them up with food, and we took them out. And people were just so grateful. I mean, it was amazing.
It's a great feeling. And it's a feeling that it makes you want to keep doing and giving. And, and the stories that they even told us those days. And it's sad because some of them didn't even know what holiday it was or what we were doing. So it was really nice to go out there. And after we did that, we're like, okay, this is what we have to do. This is what we're going to continue doing. And what we have continued doing. And it's the greatest feeling. And sometimes you see the same people over and over again. And their stories are just, and their gratefulness is absolutely amazing to where it makes you want to keep doing it. So it was a really great experience, and very happy that, we did start this.
And what was interesting, is after we did it the one time, she kind of looked up and she says, "Can we keep doing it? Can we do it every week?" And I said, "Absolutely," And that's kind of how the whole mission and the whole situation was birthed, and we kind of continued doing it from there. But at the beginning stage, we didn't record anything, so we didn't record anything at all. We just went out and we did it. And that's another knock and criticism, and that'll be, I don't even have to really put that in a different segment, but it will expound on it a little bit more. But as people were visual, so when we would tell people about this, people would think that it was awesome and it was cool, but a lot of folks are afraid to go in these communities because of the concepts that they have, or the misunderstandings that they have about the people in the homeless community. And they were like, they wish they can see some of those missions that we were on. So at that point in time, that's when we decided, after we did it maybe for about 3 or 4 weeks, to start recording. And when people were able to look at it and they were able to see, the homeless people became human. They became human, humanized them.
Right.
So when people look and they think that it's disrespectful, or it's not, it's dehumanizing them, it's actually quite the opposite, because then you get to hear those stories, you get to see those real interactions, and then you get to see the despair for some of them, and the gratitude and appreciation as well when you go out in the communities and do it. So our videoing is always to inspire individuals. That's 100% of what it's about. The fact that we got to 1,000 subscribers, is crazy. It's a blessing. Yeah. And we started the channel not even 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And in that time, we were able to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we're really thankful and grateful for that. So if you guys just joined us, again, if you like, you guys can drop in the comments, and we'll pull in any suggestions you have for topics. We'll be doing this every week, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And today's topic that we're going to be talking about, we're going to start in about 3 minutes discussing this, is why the real reason why homeless people will not get a job. And I chose this topic for our first stream. This is our first stream, so if the lighting's off, if the audio is not the greatest, don't worry about it. We'll be tweaking these in the weeks to come. I'm already looking at streaming software, microphones, all that good stuff. Thanks for rocking with us for the first stream. We appreciate it. All right, day ones, that's what you are now, right? But I chose this for the first topic. I thought it was really important because it weighs on me so heavily when people say that. And they make it seem, as if people are choosing homelessness. And we've met in some of our videos. We have one where there was a lady who, she was the mother. Her name was Catherine. Her daughter was Priscilla. If you guys look in the most recent video that we just posted yesterday, it was the best of 2023, the most touching interactions. And in that video, I think it's broken down into chapters. You guys can see maybe about the 4 or 5 minute mark where there's an interaction where there was a lady pulled up in the car when we were there. She wrote her one down, and I didn't know what she was going to say. And she just said, "That's nice what you guys are doing."
Right.
And we were like, "Wow, thank you. We appreciate it." And she said, "Hey, that lady over there that you just feeding, that's my mother." And it just tore us up. And I was like, "Excuse me?" She's like, "Yeah, that's my mom." And she had her little daughter in the car. Make sure you guys check it out. She had a little daughter in the car. And the daughter, she couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old. She didn't know what's going on. And she explained to us that, once she had her daughter and she moved out of the house, then I guess the mom wasn't the same after that, and she got a boyfriend, and, they got addicted to drugs, and she moved out, and she's like, she can come stay with me, but she chooses this life, and we ended up talking to her and convincing her to go to rehab, and she says she does it often, but she never really stays in rehab. She just kind of goes in and out. So it's a really touching segment. So in that situation, yeah, this lady did choose this particular life, but most of the times that isn't the case. So while people are coming in, they can just catch up. So thank you guys again one more time for those who just joined us. My name's Isaiah. This is Maine. We're the Homeless Heroes. Today's topic, we're going to get started. Why the homeless won't work. Why the homeless don't get a job. So I don't have all the screen sharing capabilities to share some of the stuff that you have with you guys. This is our first stream. We'll have all that. Trust me. Just rock with us. We'll get it. We're coming, right? But I do have some stuff written down about, research that we've done, and we're going to discuss these things today. So in 2024, I don't know if you guys are gainfully employed or if you've tried to get a job recently or as of late, but this argument of why people won't just get a job is absolutely why the homeless won't get a job is absolutely absurd to me. And again, we have the videos, we have the shorts. We've got probably almost 60 videos up. We've got over 200 shorts up, so whenever you guys can, if you haven't subscribed, please do. But whenever you get time, just go through. And what you will notice and what you will find is that the basic qualifications that's needed for a job application, we're just going to start. We're going to break this down. We're going to break it down to maybe about 5, 6, 7 things. Let's start with just the application process first. So why the homeless won't get a job? It's the application. So for an application, welcome if you guys just came in. So why the homeless won't get a job? Let's start with the application process. What's the first thing that they're going to ask you on the application? Obviously your name, just very basic information, your name, your age, your birthday, and then they're going to start getting to things like your address. Yes. Now, whether or not you know it or not, you having a place of residence is essential for you getting a job because that ties into things like the background check and other things like that, which we'll get into in just a second. But place of residence. Once you're residence, they normally ask for your place of residence for the past year or two. So where you live in and where have you lived, and then they'll even ask you. Again, this is 2024. I've looked at several applications, and by the way, the applications that we're talking about today is the job that everyone says, well, they can just get a sign holding somewhere. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about holding a sign in 2024. Basic applicant needs to hold a sign. Name, address, telephone number, address. So where were you staying for the past year? And then also, where were you staying before that?
Right.
Okay, so we need not only your residence currently, but your residential history, because we have to track that to make sure that you've been a United States citizen long, and if you haven't, we have to do all of that stuff when we do our background. We'll get to in a second. So right off the bat, they already just don't qualify because of our place of residence. But let's just say I met a guy, Keone. He's in several of my videos. He's kind of our resident guy. He's the guy that he knows the community. He can tell you how long people have been everywhere, and it's unfortunate because his health is failing. We in one of the segments we did a job, and it was he has a bad heart, so he was unable to do it because the job was at an airport as a PSA pushing people in wheelchairs. He told me that he had potentially another job elsewhere as a greeter, and then obviously his health continues to fail, so that fell through. But he even said, he says, hey, listen, like I know someone that I can use their address. So let's say, you can make up an address or you can use somebody's address. So you've got that down pat. All right. So then now we need references. And believe it or not, in many jobs, references are mandatory because people want to call and they want to see, are you a stand-up individual? So they're asking for 3 to 5 references. So just in the application process alone, a lot of individuals are not going to be able to get past that. Name, address, give me 3 to 5 references, right? This is for holding the sign. All right, in 2024. One of those signs you see on the corner for the Great Clips or for Little Caesars or whatever else, okay? Let's say they get past the application process. They get past it, the person says, it's not even all that important, just give us what you got and that's good enough. Okay, great. So the next thing that we have on the list is going to be your employment history, okay? So that's the next thing. So what is your employment history? Where was the last place that you worked before you worked for us? Okay, now we've already looked over the fact that you don't have a valid place of residence, and we've already looked over the fact that you don't have 3 to 5 references. Okay, and this is for, again, holding a sign with a base pay of $10 an hour. So I've looked in the area, we're in Las Vegas, and to hold the sign, the base pay is somewhere between $10 to $13 an hour, but what I've seen, and we're going to stick to, is going to be $10 an hour, just to put this in perspective. Okay, so we have that. So now employment history. Well, you haven't had a job in. Okay, so it's like you have not even been living. Like, where have you been? Under a rock? Literally, that's where you've been. Because maybe this person hasn't had a job in a few years, but maybe they've just recently become homeless. Maybe they have had a job in the past year or two, right? Okay, so employment history, maybe you can put something down. It's not that big of a deal, Isaiah. You're really making it harder than what it is. Okay, fine, great. Let's move on to the next thing. Next thing is some jobs require a birth certificate. All right, now we know that there's a big issue on immigration right now, where there's people that's coming across the border. If you watch the news, I'm not going to get into it. This isn't meant to be political, right? But there are situations where people want to know that you are a resident of the United States. You were born here, so they will actually see birth certificates, okay? Maybe this job doesn't. It's just holding a sign. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, fine, understood. You have a point there. Let's move on to the next thing. Here's another big one. Social Security card. Social Security card. Let me tell you and paint a picture to you guys about what happens in the homeless community if you don't know, if you're not aware. On a weekly basis, they do something called sweeps. The police do this, and it is not a pretty sight. Okay? And these things happen randomly. So what happens is, a sweep is the city police, the officials and the officers, they come through and they cut the lights on and they yell on the microphone in the car, everybody move, and they'll cuss them out. We stay downtown in Las Vegas. So we stay on Fremont Street. So when you guys go down there, you're partying, I can look out my window and I can see you partying. I don't have any money to go down there and party with you. So I'm going to wave through the window in disappointment, right? But we see you boogieing down there, right? But no, we stay on Fremont. So I hear it all the time because this is where the homeless encampments are concentrated at here for the most part. It's not the Strip. It's really down here, downtown. This is considered downtown Las Vegas over here on Fremont. And I'll be in my office working and I'll hear them on the microphone because sometimes they'll congregate right outside of our lofts that we stay in, and they'll cuss them out. They'll get out the car. They'll make them pick their stuff up. They'll even take their stuff sometimes, right? So they sweep them out. So week, we don't always see the same people in the same places. There'll be someone that we'll see on one side of town. We'll ride back by there, and maybe in that next week, it'll be maybe 50 tents. All be gone.
Absolutely gone.
And then we'll ride around, and then we'll finally see them somewhere else. And then and when this happens, and they're moving, picking up tents, trying to carry all these items that they gather just for safety and for survival, the odds of them keeping up with this stuff, a driver's license, a social security card, because that's what you need. You need an application, you need your identification. Many of them don't have that. Many of them don't have the identification, and they definitely don't have social security card.
And what's sad is that someone even told us that when they were being swept, that the cops actually took their wallet and everything that was in there, their ID, their social, their everything they needed to go get a job or even just to have, because I guess they had to go into what was it, like for SNAP, I guess, stamps or something, had to go get, and they had to go back to these DMVs and Social Security building, which again, you got to pay to get an ID, you got to pay to get your Social Security card, you got to pay to get your birth certificate. So he had everything, and they said they took his wallet and it was gone. You only literally have 30 minutes to get what you can before they get the bulldozer, because I've seen it, where they get the bulldozer, they have sitting there waiting, and then they all pick it all up and they toss it into a truck, the back of a truck, and then it's been done. And so whatever they can grab, I mean, my goodness, a half hour when we had that fire here in the neighborhood, I think, okay, I'm gonna grab this, I'm gonna grab that. Literally a pair of pants, my shoes, and a purse, and 2 boxes that were sentimental to us, and that's all we had. Oh, and our dogs. But that's all we had time for, because by then electricity turned off, the garage, thank God, was already open, or we wouldn't be able to get our cars out. I mean, in 30 minutes for them to get all their stuff gathered and to take their tents down,
and everything
that they have in their hand. There's nothing they had to put in, not a wagon, nothing they have. It's whatever they can carry in their hand, or hopefully they had a basket with them. But I mean, I don't even know how they get baskets these days, because they lock up when you go to a certain distance from the store. But it's, these sweeps are not nice and not good to watch. It's awful. Yeah. It's very, I mean, I understand why they do what they do, but it's absolutely, it's so sad.
So at
to see it.
So at the very least, despite the application process and anything else that you may be able to circumvent, you're going to need identification, social security card to get a job of any sort. Even this $10 an hour job that is holding signs outside, you're going to have those 2 pieces of ID. And what she's just basically highlighted is that if these sweeps are happening on a weekly basis, they're not happening on a monthly basis. I tell you, we feed these people every week. And when we go in these communities, I'll see somebody in an alley one week. I'll go to that alley and nobody will be back there, but then they'll be a mile away the next week. These things, they happen, and it's very difficult to be able to keep up with all of those items, those necessary, relevant items, over that course of time. Some of these people have been homeless for years, okay? Not days or weeks. There's a guy in one of the videos that we have. He's been living inside of a wall, in the crack of a wall. It's not that space between there. He goes, he gets in there. He's been there for 8 years. There's another guy. Yeah, I think he works.
And he works.
There's a guy that there's a sewer drain. He lives in the drain. He goes, he gets in the drain. I've seen him down there. It took 3 months for me to finally find him, because I would leave food for him every week. He just sits in there. The drain's not even 4 feet. He's been there for 2 years, right? And they'll hide in these places because they don't have to worry about these sweeps, because they lose everything. There was an elderly lady 2 weeks ago said that the police arrested her, all right, and then tried to take her cane. She needed 2 canes to walk. She refused to let them take the canes, and they arrested her. So a lot of these people, they've been arrested, and this is for a different segment, because a lot of these cops, they know that if they take their identification and they don't return them, that these people will be homeless in perpetuity. If they don't give them their license back and their social security card, they can never gain employment. But again, I digress. So the application process, they were able to do that. Okay, that's fine. They were able to somehow get an interview without an ID. Okay, because I've only met one homeless person, two homeless people that's had that. One of the guys, we were able to do a GoFundMe and send him back to Florida, for him to start a new life because he had his ID and his social security card. Without those two, he wouldn't have been able to even get on a plane.
No.
You know what I mean? Let alone go back and get a fresh start. He went back. He ended up getting another job. He moved in with somebody. It was a success story. But it's only because he had those two documents, those two pieces of identification. So application, you're able to get through ID, employment history, they overlooked that. Birth certificate, maybe on the social security card, somehow you're able to get the job without that. You don't need a work permit. Okay, any of that. Okay, let's move on to background check. Now we need to make sure you're not a threat. So we have to do a background check, which again, you'll still need an ID and social security card for anyway. Mm-hmm. Many of these people can't pass the background check because the police arrest these people for being homeless. If you guys are following the news right now, homeless has become, there's a criminalization of homelessness, where here in Nevada, it's illegal to be homeless. Okay, so if you're homeless, it's illegal, which is a part of the sweeps, and which is why they're able to be as aggressive as they are with the sweeps. Because technically, you're not supposed to be living on the streets because it's against the law, right? So, yeah, it's against the law. And they've just ramped it up. They've just passed new laws. They just passed new laws recently. They have a whole fight in the Supreme Court where they're trying to appeal it right now. Where there's a whole thing going on right now with the homelessness and criminalization. So they can arrest you for this. The majority of these homeless people have been arrested for being homeless. So they have a criminal record, and now they can't pass basic background checks. Okay. So again, after all of the stuff that I've said, when we start to delve into it from that perspective, that's problematic because now you are hiring someone who's been arrested. And we're not talking about once. Most of these people are repeat offenders. All right, because they don't have anywhere to go. So when you release them back into the community, and they go back in the same area that's their stomping ground. That's what they know. And then the police wait a week or two, and they ride back by and say, "Hey, you still out here?" Right. And then they turn around and they harass and they sweep them again. The people give them a hard time, and they arrest them and take them to jail. One guy, we call him the God Bless You Man. You guys have seen him in a couple of our videos. He has a black guy. He has like kind of a grayish white beard. He said he's been arrested 37 times in 7 years. One of the times that he was arrested, he was riding a bicycle at 5 a.m, and the cop pulled up behind him and then flashed his lights and arrested him because he says he didn't signal on a bicycle at 5 a.m. It's 5 a.m, it's dark outside. The cop said he didn't signal that he was getting ready to turn on the bicycle, so he used that as grounds to pull him over, and then he checked him, and he did find some type of narcotics on him, which he was honest about. Which gets me to my next point, okay? They're going to have to pass a drug screening in many cases. Again, this is for a sign in 2024. I've looked it up, making $10 an hour, all right? You're going to have to be able to go and adhere to all of these things. So most of them are not going to be able to. Let's be honest. I'm not sure how many of you guys who are joining us, it's not that many in the room, has ever been homeless before. We've been homeless for a day. All right, due to what she was talking about a big fire in our community. Yeah. Thank God we have family that we can call and we can crash over there on their couch or their floor for a night. But some people, they don't have that. No. Okay, so if you're living on the streets under harsh conditions, here in Nevada, in Vegas, you're going to get two extremes. It's either going to be really hot in the summer or it's going to be really cold at night because you're in the desert. So if you're living on the street, you're defecating, you're urinating in public, you're begging for food, you're malnutrition. Hey, listen, I'm nobody to judge. I've never done a drug a day in my life. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm not saying that to say I'm better than anybody. But what I am saying is that I know that if I had to sleep on concrete, I know that if I had to freeze, I know that if I was, uncertain about where my next meal is going to come from, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would take any drugs. I don't know what I would do. So a lot of these people have habits that they've developed. And some of these habits are not the reason that they're homeless, because I've heard their stories. Some of these habits have developed due to depression, due to homelessness. So because they've been homeless for 2 years and they're coping, because they've lost their family, because of this, they've developed addictions. So some of these people aren't going to be able to pass drug tests or drug screenings either. So they can't pass the application process. They don't have ID. They don't have social security card because they got swept. They don't have a birth certificate. They don't have a work employment history. They don't have a place of residence. They can't pass a background check. And then now they can't even pass a drug screening, many of them. Not all homeless people, let's debunk that myth, are drug addicts. That is not the case. That is not true. Okay, so all of this, somebody is compassionate and they say, you know what, I'm going to take a chance on you. I owned a business in Detroit for 15 years. I'm a martial art instructor, so I owned a martial art academy. There's a homeless guy that was always outside on the opposite side of the street of 8 Mile. My school was off 8 Mile. You've seen the movie with Eminem, 8 Mile. They shot that down the street from where my business was at. So on 8 Mile Road is the divider between Detroit and the suburbs. He stand out there with the sign each time, and then saying he would work, and I offered him a job. And for a while, he had come and he had kind of worked, and he helped out around the school. And then obviously started becoming less consistent over time. So some of these individuals, they are willing to work, and there'll be people like myself that are compassionate, and they'll say, hey, listen. They'll say, we'll give you a job despite the fact that you don't have any of these things that are required normally to be able to gain suitable employment. You will have some good people, some God-fearing individuals that'll do it. Okay, so now the person gets the job, right? They get the job. The job pays $10 an hour, all right, and they work 40 hours a week. Now, when I first moved out here almost 8 years ago, I can get we had a 2-bedroom apartment I was able to get for $1,000 a month. And that was one of the reasons we moved, because it was relatively cheap out here at the time. She's been out here
for a long time,
for 20 years, over 20 years.
Yeah, for a long time.
So I would be able to get a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,000. I moved down here with my family and all this other good stuff. Okay. Today, a 1-bedroom apartment here costs over $1,500. Over $1,500. That's how much inflation has, changed over the years. Has went up. So getting a house is out. And then again, you're going to need all of those things that I just brought up to get a job, to be able to even get a house, along with a credit score. So let's say that you can move we have these places called budget suites down here. And those are like, they're just basically
little
studio apartments that you can rent and you can pay weekly. They don't care who you are. You know what I mean? You can be a drug dealer, a pimp, prostitute. Just don't tear nothing up. Don't make too much noise past 9. And have the cash each week, and you can have a place. No problem. Okay? So fine. Let's assume this. So we looked this up. So the nearest one that was by us, the nearest single suites, it's $256.64 a week. So each week it's $256.64. So if I have this person gets this job, okay, to work, and they're working 40 hours a week, holding a sign, okay, 40 hours a week at $10 an hour, okay, $10 an hour, they're going to end up having $400, $400 a week before taxes. Let's assume taxes are $50. Let's be ridiculous, $50. So that leaves them with $350. So that's $350, right? So then when you take the 260, the 256.64 from that, from the $400, it leaves $93.36. That's how much they have left. So after paying the room, after getting paid, working a 40-hour week, holding a sign. That's what everybody says. Why don't you just don't get a job holding a sign somewhere? What are they begging for? I'm not giving them anything. Why are you guys helping them? You guys are enabling them. You guys are making the situation worse.
And we got comments like that.
We get a lot of comments.
Get a lot of comments like that.
It's 50-50. We'll get somebody that just thanks us and says, God bless you. And then we'll get people that hate us. That hate us for going out spending our money, making food. She makes all the food. Mm-hmm. We've graduated from sandwiches to she cooks spaghetti dinners. We put them together and we go out. And some people are really upset about this. Goodness. They say we're making the situation worse. Why are you guys making this worse for them? They can get a job. Okay. So we've just broken down. Welcome if you guys just came in. We've just broken down the fact that they're going to make $400 a week after they pay for this room at $256.64. So they're going to have $93 left, and rounded to $94. Okay. So they have a place now. They have a job and they have a place. They don't have to worry about the utilities. All those are included. But what else do they have to worry about? They got to eat. They have to eat. Now, a combo meal costs nowadays about what, $10 from McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
So if you eat 2 times a day, that's $20, right? So it's $20 a day to eat. If you want to eat every day, all right, which I like to eat every day. You can see my stomach. I'm sitting down, but you can see my stomach. You don't know I like to eat every day. Sometimes a couple times a day.
I know.
Right? So it's $20 a day times 7 days a week. If my math is correct, that's $140.
Yeah.
So if they only have $93 left, rounded up to 94, and then there's $140 to eat, then they're in the negative every week, $46.64. So in order to be able to get this job that's supposed to solve this problem, they're going to be in the rear. They're not going to be able to afford
And
to do
that's
it.
just one person. Let's say they're working and they have to take care of two people, which is them and their spouse. I mean,
Many of them are married.
Working,
many of them are married.
Or they found a spouse or someone on the street and then they just became together. And then he finally gets a job or she finally gets a job and the other one can't. Then you got to support for two. And that's where the food comes in a little high because we don't know how many people, if it's one or two people. It's just, it's scary to think like that because I know most of us have been close to that situation. And when you get close to that situation and what we see every day, it's like I don't want to ever have to be there because it's the most depressing, saddest moments that we've seen, serving these people in the way how when they get a spaghetti meal, I mean, some of them won't even sit down. They open it up right away and they start eating. And they're like, oh my God, we prayed for this. We needed food. We needed to eat so bad. We didn't know when we were going to eat again. We were praying all day. And then we served them food. And then one day we went there actually pretty late, and it was a new area. And he walked up to a guy that, just got back to his tent. And all he found in a trash can was a piece of moldy cheese. And he was scraping the mold off the cheese until he showed up, and that's what he was going to eat. And he showed up and said, would you like some food and water? And the man basically was like, oh my God, like, this is all I had. This is all I found. And so for us being there that late, I felt like God did that to us so that we can be with people that needed us at that moment. Because sometimes if we go too early, everybody's still sleeping because they were out at night, probably searching for stuff because it was cooler. Right. When we go in the afternoon, a lot of people already ate because a lot of people already, there is some people we see out here that are serving the homeless people as well, like a lot of churches. And then the time that we went, no one's really doing anything for nobody anymore because everybody's at home doing their own thing. So when we go late, like around 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, that's when it's dinner time for them as well. So that we caught a lot of people that were heading out to go get food, and we would ask them, and another guy was coming out of a tunnel and he saw us and he was like, oh my God, he's like, I was just to go out to go get some food, and he was tearing up as he was walking with him to give out meals. And then the guy with the moldy cheese, and then we saw Linda, which is Keone's wife, and she was like, I was just about to go out and go get food, like this is great, Keone's not feeling well, so I had to get something pretty quick to him, and we were able to get them waters and some food and actually an extra blanket at that time as well. Yeah. So
once we've broken down and done the math, we understand that it's not as simple as all that to just gain suitable employment, even doing something as small as holding a sign. Yeah. Let's delve even deeper into this. This person that's applying for this job isn't the only person applying. First of all, nobody does in-person interviews anymore. Even when I tried to do this research, I couldn't find the application, just the application that you can print out and you can look at. You have to go online and fill everything out nowadays. Now, again, a lot of these people, they do have those Obama phones. They have those phones, but they're not around suitable charging sources 24 hours a day, which means they can only charge their phone up maybe one time a day, and then after that, when they leave, their phone dies over the course of time. So they're not able to fill out applications online, many of them. Many of them are not able to go to emails and check things or follow up or be able to do callbacks or aren't in positions to answer the phone should these people actually call them in for a job. But what's important that we must understand is that jobs are competitive. So when people say they can hold a sign, do you think they're the only person applying for their job? There's probably 18-year-old kids, 20, 21-year-old kids. They may have 20 suitable candidates for this particular position, which this person is applying for, who doesn't have any of those credentials and necessary forms of identification or experience or any of that. So they're competing against other people, right? So they're going to overlook a suitable candidate. So when they come in for a job interview, holding a sign at $10 an hour, you're going to have an interview. They're going to have to meet you and shake your hand, right? You're going to come in. You don't have any clothes. You don't have any place where you can shower and smell well. Okay, you don't have great hygiene. All right, and then somebody else comes in and they're well put together, and you're going to choose this person over this person. There's more than just one person applying for a job, right? There's many individuals in this competitive market, even a market where a lot of folks just honestly don't really want to work. There's a lot of people that's applying for jobs nowadays.
Yeah.
So now you're competing for a job and you don't have those things. But even if you get the job, which we talked about, we said, let's assume they get the job. The job isn't always localized to where these people are, where they sleep, right? So now you need transportation to be able to get back and forth there. Suitable transportation. Now, you can say, well, they don't have a home, so why they just don't live around the business? Go back to what we talked about. What about the sweeps? When they're getting swept regularly. What you guys don't know is this. There's been several individuals who we've served that have jobs, and they're living in their cars.
Oh, yeah.
There's people that will pull up. There's been people who follow us. They see us giving out food, and they'll follow behind us slowly and creep. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror like we're being followed.
Yeah.
And the first time it happened, it freaked me out a little bit. So I got out the car and I walked up and I said, "Can I help you?" And they says, "Can we have some food?" And I'm looking and I'm like, "You get a car. Like, where you gotta have money for gas. Like, you gotta have some money somewhere." And they said, "We're homeless. This is all we have." And maybe they were burnt out of their home. Happened to us before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, almost happened to us.
Almost.
Thank
our
God.
house was missed by one house.
Yeah. Some of these people were burnt out of their home. Some people were evicted, because the cost of living went up. We met a homeless kid out here named Gabriel, and he was giving out donuts in the homeless community when we were giving out food. And I sat down and talked to him and heard his story, and he was explaining to us that, they got a 30-day notice because their rent kept going up. The mom was on welfare. The grandmother was the payee, and they weren't able to keep up. So they got a 30-day notice, and then boom, that was it. So there's people that's living in their cars, as well, who have jobs, but they still can't afford to live somewhere. So getting a job, there's so many different components that we've talked about. So when people come up and they say this, in a very insensitive fashion, why don't they just get a job? It's important to realize and understand that it's really not just that simple. It does not work that way. It's not a matter of someone getting up and going and saying, "Can I have a job?" Next, here's what's important to also understand. Please understand this too. This is a crisis. This is not a localized situation. We have well over 10,000 homeless people here in Las Vegas. Now, I didn't say in Nevada. I said Las Vegas. We have, other than California, we have one of the biggest tunnel communities. They're called the mole people of Las Vegas. Actually, our tunnel community is bigger than California. Their homeless community is bigger than ours, but our tunnel community is bigger. They call them mole people because they live underground, and they live underground because they're tired of being swept. So they go underground because the police don't go down there. They're not allowed to.
They have their own community police. They got their own community security. They have it to where we spoke to somebody. They have it to where they have almost like high schools and prisons where they have their own groups of people, like where
their own sectors.
Yeah,
you can't just go down there.
No, you can't. You have to actually be invited, or you have to be with someone that is capable to take you down there, or you will get basically you won't come back.
Yeah. So it's 10,000 people. Now there's 10,000 jobs available, but they're not 10,000 jobs available for people that don't have ID, Social Security card, a home. They don't have transportation. They don't have clothes. It's very competitive. Californians are selling their homes and they're moving to Las Vegas because the cost of living in California has went up at such a rate that people cannot afford to stay there anymore. The Raiders have moved from California here to Nevada, to Las Vegas as well. The Oakland A's have moved over from California to Nevada. We have, the top WNBA team, back-to-back champions. We're getting the basketball team soon. Hockey team is doing very well, the Golden Knights. So there's a lot of an influx of people that are coming. People are leaving California, they're coming here. So it's difficult to compete. If there's 10,000 people, they ain't 10,000 sign holding jobs at $10 an hour that these homeless people can get. And if there is, they got to compete with other suitable candidates. So my point in bringing this up is when we hear people say, Why are you guys feeding them? You're contributing to the problem. You're not helping. The question is that they ask, why can't they get a job? These people are young. They can go get a job anywhere. They shouldn't be laying up in tents. Feed the old people, feed the women, feed the kids. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. I had to take a part-time job last year at the airport. Now, this is a federal job. It was just pushing wheelchairs. I was a PSA just for 6 months. We needed some extra income because feeding the homeless community, it becomes taxing on your pockets because we don't do this for an organization. We don't have any funding. We don't have any. The church that we go to, they love us and they clap and they applaud us, but they're not coming out. They don't come out no money. Right. You know what I mean? We don't have any sponsors. We don't have anything. We don't have any money. This is all of our bill money that we use to do this. I took a part-time job at the airport. I had to do so much. I hadn't worked in 20 years. I've worked for myself. I had to do so much to get this job. I couldn't believe it. I barely got it. I told a friend of mine about it, and he didn't get the job. This guy has a whole family. That's right. He has a whole family. He does Uber and Lyft. He has an amazing car. He has savings and money in the bank. He wanted to do it just to help folks out and to have some extra. He didn't get the job. And we're people who we've had employment history. We have homes. It's not easy. It's not that easy to be able to get a job. And then when you get one, when you do the math by numbers, it just doesn't solve the problem. These people most likely will end back up in the situation again over a course of time. You know, one of the guys who we talked to maybe 6 months ago, if that, I don't think it was that long ago, you know, I saw him walking down the street and we just had we had one dinner left and he was walking and pulling his like a bed or something behind him down the street. And I was going to give it to somebody in this tents, but they were not there. So then he saw me and he yelled and I walked over there to him and he sat down and he just said, you know, thank you so much. And there's a lot of them, they're very not defensive, but they're embarrassed by the situation, you know, especially the men who are able-bodied men. And he said, listen, man, he said, I just have a stretch of bad luck. I can work, I'm sorry. He said, I have stretch of bad luck. I'm used to working for mine, but the problem is that, you know, I ended up throwing my back out. He says, and what people don't know, most people don't know is most folks are one paycheck away from being homeless. He says, if you look in your chime, I have the whole segment on there. You guys check out the videos. He says, if you look in your chime when it's payday and that money goes in your chime or your Zelle or your Venmo or your PayPal or Cash App or wherever it goes in, he says most people, they don't have enough savings for one emergency. Now, we know that to be true. We just recently went through it. Yeah. And we were really close to being in that same situation, which is why we do it, because we will want somebody to show us a kindness if it was us. Yes. Right? Mm-hmm. But he says, I threw my back out. And when I threw my back out, he says, I basically lost my job because his job revolved around him being able to do day labor. And when he lost his job, he wasn't able to work. And then he says that they told him that he would have to have a surgery. The surgery that they wanted him to have would have potentially paralyzed him. So he was like, I don't want to be paralyzed. They're like, well, you won't be in pain, but you may be paralyzed. So he's like, well, look, I can't do that. What else can I do? So they prescribed him to fentanyl pills, and then he got addicted to fentanyl. So as a result, his addiction came based on an injury that he sustained at work, in which he got fired for because he couldn't work anymore, and he became homeless. So these things, they happen in a variety of ways, and honestly and truthfully, it's not always a catch-all to where just getting a job is going to be enough to be able to sustain an individual. And if they get the job at the end of the day, we've done the numbers, we've looked at it, that doesn't mean they'll be able to sustain that way of life. Honestly, chances are they're going to be right back in the situation 6 months to a year. If the things are set up is that you would need a job that was paying $15 to $20 an hour. These are going to require some level of skill, some level of competency that these people probably simply do not have or they do not possess. So it's not that simple. So I'm here to say, in short, it is when we hear that argument, it's so frustrating to me. Why don't they just get a job? This is why they don't, because they're unable to, so many reasons. So At the end of the day, we hope that the videos that we share with you guys are inspiring. If you can't go out and physically do this yourself, contribute to organizations that are doing this, because this is a crisis, all right, and it's a growing crisis because of the cost of living continuing to go up. Yeah, I don't have to tell you guys.
No. And I feel like that if people are able to take care of stray animals, and I'm not saying that, the humans out there are stray animals, but if they do it to where they leave water out and food out for the stray cats, if they leave food and water out for dogs, or if they see the dog walking by and they'll grab them and take them to the hospital or do anything like that, it's just the same as taking care of our brothers and sisters that are in need of food or water. A 24 pack of water is $2.99, at a grocery store. Here in Vegas, we have Smith's, and it's a Kroger company. And water's there at $2.99. You can go and get a 24 pack, and as if you're driving down the street and you see a couple of people, you can just hand them some water. It's like, hey, listen, this is what I got. I got some water for you, and they are forever grateful to even just get a bottle of water. Like we give out cold waters and food, and they tell us, they go, wow, they go, you really do care for us to even keep the waters cold. And I'm not saying keep the waters cold. I'm just saying that just them having some water, is a blessing for them. It's like getting $50 or $100 handed to them, like, really. So, if we can do that for our animals, we can do that for our brothers and sisters as well.
And she makes a great point. She said this and been a very big advocate about this, about how it's sad that people treat animals in a better fashion than humans. We've had people comment, don't feed the animals. Why you guys are feeding them? And they deserve to be there. They're filthy. They're disgusting. And we know there's a very difficult dichotomy, because we do have some reservations about some of the homeless situations as well. In our future lives, we'll be talking about that. So we don't want to try to cover everything in one session.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure that it's understood that we're hoping that our initiatives is encouraging people. This is why we video it. There's a lot of people who've commented on them who've been grateful because they've been homeless before, and they said that it was because somebody showed them a kindness that it encouraged them and gave them the support and the wherewithal to pick themselves up, and be able to go out and get back into a good situation. There will be a very small percentage of these individuals that realistically will be able to get out of the situation because of all the things we've discussed. But because it's an epidemic and this thing, and it's a crisis, and it's growing, large apart than not people not wanting to work, but people either being unable to work, people unable to maintain employment, or people able to compete with the rising cost. This is going to continue to go up. So that doesn't mean that we shouldn't show folks kindness. We don't give money out. We see there's other people in our niche that go out and they're giving money out, $100, $500. Hey, I'll be honest with you, not all the people are drug addicts in the homeless community, but some of them are. And again, it's probably larger parts of the situation that they're living with or dealing with, and we don't judge them at all. But I'm not going to give them money, because I don't know, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have it to give, first of all, but I don't know. But what I can do is I can show them a kindness by giving them food, giving them water, and to them, like she said, it's just like money. A lot of them, they're so grateful. Some of them haven't eaten in a very long time, or haven't had anything to drink, or haven't had anything cold to drink.
Right.
It's not just the water. We'll put ours in the refrigerator. Sometimes we'll freeze them when it's the summertime. We'll freeze the waters and then we'll give it to them, and they can double it. Like they use it on their neck.
Right away.
They'll use it on their head.
Their neck. They put it on their chest, and they're like, "Oh my God!" Like, you have no idea. And I'm like, "My goodness!" I'm sitting in this car, with the air on. And I walk outside, and I feel like I feel like SpongeBob sometimes. I'm like, I don't have no water.
And then when it thaws, they can drink it, but then the ice block will be in there, and the ice will still be in there, so they can refill it with other water to be able to keep it cold too. So again, show a kindness. Show a kindness if you see somebody. Like Maine said, keep some waters in your cars if you can. Sandwiches work. That's fine. You ain't got to do nothing fancy. We was putting together, ham and ham sandwiches with cheese, and we were giving those out. Whatever. They're going to love it. They're going to appreciate it just the same. But don't look at them and say, why can't you just get a job? I don't understand why you don't have a job. Why aren't you working? This is the reason why I'm not going to help. we've all been in a car before, and there's a homeless person standing on the corner holding a sign, and they look at us and they wave. And there's been a lot of us that look the other way. We don't even make eye contact with them and even acknowledge them as being human. So when we go through these alleys and under these bridges and down to these tunnels, they'll tell me everything without me even asking. I never ask these people anything. I just say, God bless you. Would you like food and water? And I try to hand it to them. And then they just haven't had somebody that's not homeless talk to them or see them in a very long time. So talk to them, shake their hand. You know, if you don't have money, that's fine. I don't have it. You know what I mean? It was a guy today. We were heading to church. When we were heading to church today, we were dressed up. I had my shirt on, I had my tie on, and this homeless guy walked up, and I was like, he's gonna ask me for money, and I don't have any. So I was looking at me and talking to her, and he says, "Excuse me, are you heading to church?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he says, "Okay." He says, "Well, hey, put 10% in church if you can. God bless you." And he turned around and left. This is a guy who was clearly homeless.
Yeah.
These people, they really appreciate interactions and any kindness that you give to them. So don't use fear as an excuse. Don't use the fact you don't have money. Don't use the fact that you don't have much. Don't use any of those things as excuses, as callous of why you can't contribute and help. And definitely don't say, why don't they just get a job? Hopefully today, this live that we had today with the few that we had, which we're so grateful for.
Yeah.
This is our first one, you know, and again, you know, we'll be doing one every week, and we'll have all the things tweaked out and put together better in the future weeks. But hopefully this at least illuminates to some degree, you know, why the homeless people don't get a job, because it's not that easy. And the job requirements in 2024 do not make it friendly to people who are in situations such as they are. Okay? Man, you got anything to say at the end?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. Again, it is our first one, but it's all right because we're going to do many more, and we're going to be more on top of other topics, and you know, be able to know what to say and what to, you know, how to explain ourselves. But I just want to say thank you for coming in. I want to thank you for joining, you know, for staying with us, and you know, we are very, very appreciative.
Yeah, I wanted to try the YouTube experience.
Yeah.
Next week I'm gonna probably try to use StreamYard. I heard they were really good. You know what I mean? So first time through. That's right. You hung with us, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It means a lot. We used to do lives over on this is how we met. Funny story.
Yeah.
Aside from this, we met on an app
during COVID.
During COVID. You know, and we were both do live streams and we met on there. So
Yeah.
we're very familiar with the live experience.
Yeah.
We never did on YouTube before. I wanted to see how it was, the quality. There's a couple other streaming apps that we're going to be trying to use and play with, but we wanted to try it. It was a great experience for us. So again, we appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. All right.
And just remember, it doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. Thanks a lot. Peace.
Bye.